Hello, Grand Risings. It's Back to the Basics. I'm at it again. This is a Back to the Basics brief. I just wanted to highlight and celebrate an activist over in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, by the name of Gary Chambers Jr. First of all, a personal shout out to the Information Man show for highlighting this. I will put that also in the description box because, again, I do not steal, plagiarize, or copyright infringe on anybody. I give people credit where credit is due. So, without further ado, I was on YouTube and let me see. Roland Martin was on, Unfiltered. I just happened to catch a little bit of the discussion about Mr. Gary Chambers. He only played a little clip of what he said and, of course, who he addressed.
Of course, viral videos are critically important. Over the weekend, a 3-minute video of activist and Gary Chambers out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, went viral. Millions of people saw him snap it on Connie. Watch this.
So I had intended to get up here and talk about how racist Robert E. Lee was, but I'm going to talk about you, Connie. Sitting over there shopping while we talking about Robert E. Lee. This is a picture of you shopping while we talking about racism and history in this country. Only white members of this board got up while we were up here talking too, because you don't give a damn. And it's clear. But I'm going to tell you what the slaves, my ancestors, said about Robert E. Lee, since you don't know history, sister. Let me tell you that they said when he got the plantation, after he got off the field where 27,000 people died at Gettysburg, Connie, Robert E. Lee was a brutal slave master. Not only did when he whooped the slaves, he said lay it on them hard. After he said lay it on them hard, he said put brine on them so it'll burn them. That's what Robert E. Lee did. And you set your arrogant self in here and sit on there shopping while the pain and the hurt of the people of this community is on display. Because you don't give a damn and you should resign. You should have resigned 2 years ago when you choked the white man in his house. You should have resigned 2 weeks ago when you got on TV and said foolishness. And you should walk out of here and resign and never come back. Because you are the example of racism in this community. You are horrible. Now to the rest of the board. You have an obligation to the people of this community. And 81% of them are black. And do you need a Klan rally outside, Mr. Goday, before you end it? Because holding it up means that you put that building in jeopardy. You do, sir. Because all over the country, they burning stuff down. And black folks in this city have stood with protesters. I ain't seen you elected officials out there with them, making sure that nothing goes south in Baton Rouge. It's been folks in this community who give a damn. Not just when it's comfortable, but every time. And 4 years ago, we came down here. Mr. Drake, they say you're a good man. Be a good man. Black folks say you're a good man. White folks say you're a good man. Your legacy is attached to tonight, brother. Your legacy. Now, let me say to the black members of the board, it's the most solidarity I've seen out of y'all in forever. Let's keep it that. Let's stand on this moving forward. Because we don't need to apologize for Connie, Evelyn. She showed you who she was when she was...
Oh, love it. He was calling for East Baton Rouge Parish School Board member Connie Bernard to apologize. She later did so, and she said, no, I wasn't shopping. There was a pop-up ad, and I was trying to figure out how to get rid of it. She lied because she was scrolling down on the ad. Gary Chambers is the publisher and advocate for the Rouge Collection. He joins us right now. Gary, you all up in Connie's ass.
Well, brother, sometimes that's what it requires.
Well, the thing that gets me is she lying in her apology. She was scrolling down. She was shopping. She didn't want to hear none of that.
She's sitting next to a black woman, Evelyn Ware Jackson, who serves on the school board with her. And while Evelyn is expressing her sentiments about Robert E. Lee, Connie is sitting there scrolling and shopping. And for me, it really just pissed me off. And I just could not contain just letting them have the unadulterated truth. And what you guys saw is a reflection, in my opinion, of what we as black folks deal with when we deal with our government. That here black folks show up pleading our case about why we should do something to change something that is clearly systemic and structural. And we got a school board member who's just sitting there saying, the hell with what y'all doing. I'm going to just go shopping while y'all are pleading your hearts out to us, the government.
You also made a point. You said that 81% area. How many white board members are on this school board, and how did that happen?
So let's talk about that in a real way. So Baton Rouge first of all, we had the longest standing desegregation case in the country. That's number one. And the school district encountered white flight like never before in the 50s, 60s, 70s, whenever desegregation began to happen. Catholic schools and private schools started opening in Baton Rouge, and so white folks left the system, and they never came back. And so now the school system is 81% black. The city of Baton Rouge is 56% black. We have parishes rather than counties, so our parish is 47 and 47. Yet our school board is a 9-member board with 5 white Republicans and 4 black Democrats. Our city council, Roland, is 12 members. It is 7 white and 5 black in a city that is majority black. And so it's extreme gerrymandering, and so it's important that we take the census as black folks so that we can get more seats. But we have got to be pressing the gas on these people every day, because this is what builds an inequitable system.
Well, you're absolutely right. And again, the fact that they are holding the power, and the reality is their children are not going to these school systems. And this is also, we saw the same thing in Ferguson. They just got their first black mayor. This is a 67% black city.
So this is our second black mayor. Mayor Sharon Weston Broome is our second black mayor. But we have watched inequities, whether it is DBEs, disadvantaged business enterprises. I started advocacy about 5 years ago as a small business owner. I was watching how white-owned companies were getting 98 and 97% of the contracts in the city of Baton Rouge, and the Baton Rouge Area Chamber was in support of Baton Rouge being a thriving and growing place, and the chamber still being silent about Connie Bernard resigning, and that breeds a culture of division. It breeds a culture of inequity and a lack of progress. And if we are not, as you say, on their ass, right, then we will continue to have a foot up ours until we demand that they do something different.
And it's about the money. That at the bottom line, it's about the money. I keep telling people, when Maynard Jackson, when he ran for mayor of Atlanta, African Americans were getting 0.0012% of all city contracts. And then the other day, I saw some Republican tweeted, "Oh, look at all of these black mayors you've had in Atlanta." I said, don't get confused. White folks in Atlanta still want to be able to control the money, and the only reason they have not been able to keep control of the money because those black mayors used the power of that airport and said, nope, we're going to ensure we open these doors. And that's what this boils down to is. That is, they say, look, we might lose the demographic numbers, but if we control the money, we control the city, the school board, the state, the nation.
And so, Roland, I did a video about a week ago where I was talking about I don't believe that there are black meccas. I know that folks have advocated that Atlanta's a black mecca and D.C. was a black mecca at one point, because at the end of the day, those cities are municipalities that are still checked by their state government. And so a state like Louisiana, which is 34% black, a city like Baton Rouge, which is 56% black, when you look at a majority black city that still has a majority white council, or when you look at Atlanta, where voter suppression is still in operation because Kemp, the governor, was the Secretary of State, suppressed the vote, and then when he's governor, we've got black folks standing in line like that. As long as the checks and balances are above us and they have the power of the state legislature, we are still in a battle. And so we've got to be deliberate about all politics being local and not just voting in this presidential election where Donald Trump, Agent Orange, is doing his thing. We've got to focus in on the people where that federal money and that state money comes down to the local level.
Yep.
Our school board in Baton Rouge is a $425 million budget. Our city of Baton Rouge is a $900 million budget. The state of Louisiana is a $27 billion budget. And when you talk about those resources, and 95% of those monies going to white businesses, well, that explains why black folks don't have the same level of income as white families, because the companies that we own do not get fed into by our tax dollars. And the assault on us is that they are taxing us, right, without giving us equal representation.
Well, this is also why, and when I did the State of Black America report in Indianapolis, this was October, and I said, if you were or are a public worker, stand up. Probably about 80% of the room stood up. And I tried to walk them through this thing. And I said, do y'all understand who actually controls Wall Street? And people looked at me like I was crazy. I said, this is who controls Wall Street. Pension funds.
Yes, sir.
I said, pension funds are the ones who give billions of dollars to hedge funds. And I was on a call the other day on there's this exclusive app called Clubhouse, and a whole bunch of venture capitalists on there. And somebody asked me the question. They said, how do we change the VC world? I said, see, you focus on the wrong thing. You can't change the VC world unless you change the pension world. I said, because see, and then I said, where does the money come from in the pension world? It comes from the public workers. So really what has to happen, Gary, we've got to get these black folks who are public workers, who are retired teachers and police officers and firefighters and secretaries and janitors to say, you need to be mobilizing, saying, we're tired of all these white folks controlling the pension funds. We need to see black lawyers, black bondholders. I said, all of us, I said, if that level of people rise up, then you change the pension boards, then you change the Wall Street, then you change the venture capitalists. I said, it comes down to the money.
Yes, sir. And it starts at the grassroots level is what you're talking about. It starts at the local level because that's where we have the rubber meets the road. And if we stand up and use our power, we can effectuate change all over this country. I think we see it happening. I think that there is, I would say it like this, Roland. We don't all wake up at the same time in the morning, and all black folks don't become woke at the same time. But I do believe that the things that are happening in this country are waking some of us up. Our young people that are showing up in the streets protesting consistently and agitating against the police. Well, the longer that a police officer stays on the clock, I know you may think he's getting paid overtime, but he can't go home to his family and sleep. And in a COVID environment where cities' budgets are stretched, you're going to stretch that city's budget even further. And so we've got to be deliberate in every area. And what your suggestion is, well, those that have retirement plans and pension funds, you do your part at your level. Maybe your level isn't getting in the streets, but it's getting on the phone with your public officials and saying enough is enough.
Absolutely, absolutely. And now, first of all, you got to be shocked at how this thing has spread. I mean, I saw entertainers and others. I mean, like Morning Joe reached out to you, all the rest of these people. And see, here's my whole deal. I'm glad those folks are posting those videos. But the reality is, I need them posting that kind of stuff every day, using their influence, and for the Morning Joes of the world to be calling folk like you on a regular basis versus having the Donnie Deutsches of the world saying the same bullshit he normally trickles out all the time. No, have real people who on the ground speak. See, I ain't got a problem. The show is called Unfiltered.
I appreciate it, brother. You know, I quoted Pimp C this morning on Morning Joe because, you know, we out here, they rapping about it, and we out here paying the price. And every day, advocates all over the country are doing their part on the local level. And so when I saw the shout out from LeBron James, man, I had to go and check it out and find out was it real for myself. Somebody sent me the screenshot. I was like, this can't be real, because folks like me on the local level, we don't get to have these types of conversations.
Right.
We're fighting this fight every day. And so if I could, I would just say to LeBron, to Miss Ava DuVernay, to all of those people, Call me and let's have a conversation about how we mobilize your resources and your influence on a local level all over the country. 55% of black folks live in the Deep South. Let's take the South over and create a new Black South. I'm about that, but I think that we've got to realize that there are those of us who do this work on a grassroots level that can lean information in with those resources. And when we bring in every aspect of what we do as black folks, we already know we magical, but how are we going to be powerful with that magic? And what are we going to do? My homeboy Ryan Thompson has a quote. He says, we treat our entertainers and rappers like scholars and our scholars like entertainers. And until we get to the point where we treat our people in our community that do this work with the honor, and listen, I appreciate the love and support, brother. I am mobilizing right now because I want to go all over the Deep South and train new black leaders, because what you see is the passion of young people, and it's no disrespect to those who came before, but some of them have stayed over their due. And I'm 34, Roland. I'm not going to be 70 fighting these same battles, and I'm going to have that same tenacity, but we got to pass this knowledge down, because there's brothers like Cleve Dunn and Edmund Jordan and Baton Rouge who shared knowledge with me when I was 29 years old and said, hey, brother, you got this media platform, but you ain't doing nothing with it. Lean in for your people, right? And so I've been doing this for the last 5 years, but we can turn this up. The beauty of this moment is, I think, like I said, we don't all wake up at the same time, but I do that alarm clock is going off, brother.
Well, I'll say this here. First of all, I saw Ava's tweet where she said, man, who is this brother? And then I went to your Twitter feed and I saw you were following me, and your email was on there, and I sent her your email.
Wow, I appreciate that, brother.
And so
I met you at Essence a few years ago, and I'm definitely going to drop that picture. I know you meet a lot of people, but I've been a fan for years, brother, because you've been speaking truth to power in a way that many people don't appreciate. And for folks like me on the local level who need black folks to tell our stories, black man, I appreciate you and I love you to the moon for what you do. And I know that the reason you're not on CNN is because you are unapologetically black. And we as black folk got to say, Roland Martin is important to our culture. Roland Martin is important to our people. And we got to stand up with this black man, because he's putting our platform out there where we can tell it without having to be sugarcoated. Roland, I put my Connie, go home Connie shirt on because I was coming on here with you, because she got to go, baby. She got to go.
Absolutely.
She got to go.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, when you talk about all the Karens of the world, and trust me, I think you about to add.
Karen Mama.
You about to add the Connies to the world. And y'all do me a favor. See, this is just so y'all know. See, I pay attention to everything. This is when I knew, when I saw the video, before Gary said a word. Y'all play the video. Look at Gary's left hand. He had the pimp hand position. He knew he about to smack. Y'all play the look. Watch the left hand. Right there. Right there. See, right there. Look, see, I need y'all to see. Come on back. Y'all need to see. Y'all see what he did? He put the hand out. Then he extended the hand like, now I'm about to smack the hell out of you right now.
Because I got you.
Oh, yeah.
I got you.
Absolutely.
We're going to get the business clear. And Roland, let me say this, brother. We as black folk cannot continue to let these folks slide. We are voters. We are taxpayers. Every time you go to the store and spend $1, the government is taking some of your money. Your check, the government is taking some of your money. Your property, the government is taking your money. Even if you are a renter, when you pay your taxes, the people who pay the property taxes take your rent money to pay those property taxes. So I'll be damned if we ought to be quiet and we ought to stand in their face and agitate them. Roland, there were young black protesters in Baton Rouge that took a protest to the district attorney's house because he ain't doing nothing about the injustices. And I want to talk to you at another time about the Baton Rouge 3, because Trump's DOJ is attempting to overcharge 3 young black people who committed simple arson, and now they're being charged with, what is it called? Interference with interstate commerce by Brandon Freeman, the U.S. Attorney for the Middle District of Louisiana.
Okay.
I just had to get that in there
fine.
because it's important, because they are attempting to overcharge these people.
Well, we'll certainly have you back on, talk about that. And one of the reasons we created this platform, because there are a lot of activists like you who don't get called on national television unless a video picks up millions of followers. And so we've had many folks like you on for that very reason, to be able to bring light to sort of some of these issues. So we certainly will have you back, Gary Chambers. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Do good and seek justice.
Yes, sir. Thanks a bunch. All right.
Shout out to Gary Chambers Jr. You are appreciated. Let me see. I mean, wow. Like I said, I don't steal or, plagiarize or copyright infringe. That was, this audio is taken from the Roland S. Martin YouTube channel. The link will be in the description box. But first of all, let me see if I can do a clap or an applause. Here we go. Okay. You definitely deserve that and more, because unfortunately, so many of our black men have been killed and are not honored until after they are gone. And it really is a shame. And I would like to start a new trend of honoring black men who are still with us. This is no disrespect to, the family of, Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, David McEntee, Robert Fuller, Rayshon Brooks, and to all the other ones who have passed on before, with Eric Gardner, Philando Castillo, Trayvon Martin, so many. I would literally be on here for hours, days, weeks, trying to name everybody. And I know for some black men out there, I got it, you guys don't want any, you might not want the pat on the back or the fanfare, but it's nice to be acknowledged. And I believe that black men who are living should be acknowledged. They should be honored and respected and given notoriety while they are here with us. I just want to do a short commentary because this is a Back to the Basics brief. He used a lot of words. He used the word mobilize again, and he used the word deliberate. So mobilize is talking about individuals or a group that is getting ready, that is prepping for war. He used the word train. He said train young leaders. He also spoke about, moving, and I'm paraphrasing him now, in a deliberate manner. You see, when people are preparing for war, there's a lot of training involved. Young leaders, or as if you're in the military, junior leaders, need to be training. Training needs to be done at all levels, not just the junior leaders. Everybody needs to do training. He talked about mobilization. He talked about deliberate. There needs to be a deliberate, a planned strategy. The plan, the strategy needs to be flexible. It needs to be flexible so that if things changed, whatever happens, the plan or strategy can be adjusted. And he talked about, of course, the grassroots, that is where it starts, the grassroots. And they spoke about pensions. There's a lot to be broken down in this commentary, but I wanted to do it a little bit differently to sort of hear the conversation and then do just my own summary or commentary. I think that it's great. Salute to you, brother. And as far as that, Connie, no, that is not my sister. Nope. But salute to you and all of the black men out there who continue to lead, coach, and mentor that are not caught on camera. With that being said, I will say this: none of my statements are endorsed by the United States Army, Department of Defense, and or military branch, element, or government entity. I love you as a sister. The Most High be with you to protect you, lead and guide your footsteps. This was streamed on Roland S. Martin on his YouTube page approximately, give or take, 2 hours ago on June 28th, 2020. And with that being said, I'm gone.